Welcome to Insights. I'm Eric. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to talk about coffee. We haven't had a conversation about coffee in a while since it's done pretty well since the reset that we saw 38 days ago. And we're going to talk about that impulse in detail. The primary trend is looking pretty good at up 7 months and a 23% return, but we're going to see this impulse here is responsible for the vast majority, or if not all of this return. And then we're going to have to see how this is moving through the evolution of the trade, whether or not you want to chase at this current level, and what we're looking forward for to do in the future. We probably would like to escalate the core position somewhat if it's a possibility. But we need to follow the discipline in order to do that. And what are we going to look for when that time comes? We're also going to discuss some of the seasonality and see how that factors in and where coffee is headed. Videos about coffee aren't getting a lot of clicks. I probably would be better off to talk about the benefits of rotating your car tires in order to promote tire wear rather than to have a conversation that says you're either bullish or bearish coffee. Frankly, nobody's interested in, and that's a good thing because I don't know too many assets inside the matrix that have achieved 20% plus return over the last month. So we'll leave the few subscribers here that are following coffee. I'm going to try and encourage this with some open content, but the message does change, and we are looking for an escalation point. So we'll address that when it comes. Right now, there is no real escalation point that's on the table. So if you have the matrix open, or if you want to follow along with this one, that's fine. Click this link up here if you have the matrix, if you're a subscriber. I would master the evolution of the trade, understand the four phases, the nibble, flip, the alignment and energy phase, which is what coffee is currently in, and the primary trend decline. We're going to stick with coffee until the primary trend either flips down, which is right here. It's not looking to do that, or it gets old, and it's not old because this is the time cycle right here, this BUST. It's below zero, so it's not even reached its norm yet. The price cycle is BUS. It is also below zero, which means 23% is still below its norm and normal cycle. And this is a powerful setup still. We are starting to see some blue and red here. The weekly has got some blue in the price and time cycles, almost one, which means that you're going to get a rally and then things are going to slow down. Probably slow down in terms of seasonality, but I'd keep an eye on these if you're trading these. You don't want to push this above 2 and start and continue to chase, or you don't want to chase any resets that are above there because it gets more risky to do that, or riskier to do that. The daily cycle is here. It's been up for 38 days. We almost have bolded red, and red means a precursor of a warning. Bolded red is anything's above 2. This is the price and this is the time cycle, and they're almost above 2 right now, which definitely says that if you are just watching this video or just being introduced to coffee, it is way too late to chase. You're 38 days too old, and you're going to have to wait for a reset. And the reset's going to have to be viable, and it's going to have to be driven by energy, which is right here, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But first, let's take a look at the bar charts. This is the bar chart for Joe. This is what we track inside the matrix. It represents somewhat of the continuous contract that's traded on the exchanges. It trades the second and third month contracts, primarily the second month out, to reduce the rollover conflicts that usually are associated with futures options. So you don't necessarily see the spot price increases on a daily basis, but it's pretty good. And we can see by the markings right here that the reset, which took place 38 days ago, which brought us to triple up, and this is now mid-cycle, and that's 38 days, and that's 23 days past the mean. Here's the composite score, and we're now in expansion. So this thing has been up for 38 days, and the rally that started 38 days ago started at 37 46.8. Now we are currently at 46.02. It's about a 22% profit. And this whole exercise right here is a means of determining where the reversal levels lie within Joe itself, which is extremely important to know when a market has jumped the creek, when it's hitting an air pocket, and where is the likely resistance levels to come. You can get these by going into the reversal tabs, selecting Joe in a pull down menu, and you'll find it here, and that's these numbers right here. Everything above this on daily, weekly, and monthly time frame is resistance or gaps, which the computer finds high volume areas, and everything below is support into high volume areas. The high volume areas are or the computer continuously looks at the three time frames, the daily, weekly, and monthly, and it reshapes these zones based on the entire trading history of coffee. And it's something that it's going to find where the volume levels are. Sometimes they're where the gaps are, but sometimes they're not. And then the computer establishes these gaps based on minimum distance rules. And that's what we use as our support right here, and resistance. And you can pull these up, and I hand draw these, and I would suggest doing the same thing. If you were going to use the matrix and trade with the matrix, I would identify where support and resistance zones are coming. Hang on a second. And these levels right here are support, and this is resistance. And we can pull these from these zones or gaps here and above. And we can see that if Joe gets above 48, roughly here, and you can see a number here, and mostly this number here, the next level is going to be about 52 and the 50s and as high as 65. So we're going to start to hit some air pockets. So the question is do we need a rest? And I think the answer might be is maybe a little bit, because as these daily numbers get to be red and somewhat extended, coffee needs to take a break here for a little bit. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't take any profits. These numbers aren't big enough really to take massive profits, considering the primary trend itself is relatively young. And that's something that's actually really encouraging. It's one of the reasons why I don't understand why people aren't following coffee to speak of. But as it continues to jump the creek, we're going to accelerate upside and keep pushing the primary trend higher. So the odds of doing that are going to be based on the energy build. And the energy build of coffee is defined over in these columns right here. Again, if you're a subscriber, you can click any of these links to get the chart, this to get help, more information. All these help links will talk about each section of the matrix, usually in video format, and I would watch them. It'll help explain a lot of things that I'm talking about flying through in these conversations. So it's but you can go back and you can rewatch these videos and then watch the help videos, and you will start to learn that the fractal nature of trends really defines the composite trend for any asset, which is far more than just the daily trend. There's just an infinite amount of trends that are out there. The computer studies 3 of them because that's all we really need to do. But even then, human beings can't track 3 trends simultaneously. So if we look at the energy builds, we can see that the energy build is minus 14 and 31 as we are starting to jump the creek here. You would look for some sort of blocking dome below 60 to form, and yet we're not doing that. We're at minus 14. So if the price continues to go up and we hold here or we go higher, there's not energy forming on the bearish side in order to create a blocking dome to slow the advance. So this is actually a fairly decent sign. So other than the fact that you have price and time cycles, which are getting a little bit on the extended side, they're not overwhelmingly bearish yet, and the energy build is not bearish. So there's quite the or let's hit the right one. There's still quite a possibility that we might grind here sideways, and we're going to attack this zone here. These are a combination of weekly zones and monthly zones, and I do think once 48 is cleared, if it can happen, if we have enough energy to do it, we're going to accelerate pretty quickly into the 50s, and then the low 50s, and then the mid 50s, and then we're going to hit, then there we'll see, obviously we're targeting 60s, which is much higher. So we can talk about other geometric or price forecasts in a little bit, but this is where we stand with coffee in terms of energy. The energy builds look pretty good. It's relatively neutral to maybe somewhat on the bear side, but it's nowhere near statistically or concentrated enough to slow the rally quite yet. So we could grind at the higher shelf level right here a bit. As long as we stay above 44, we're looking pretty good. And if we come back down in from 46 to 44 and energy pushes up even higher, maybe gets above the zero line, that's going to provide just a little bit of extra fuel in order to us to make a run at the higher reversal zones. This is the pro index. This is price right here. Here's the pros. Here's the public index. This is located in this part of the column matrix here in these pro charts. Click links for explanation and some help on that. If you click this, you're going to pull up this chart here. All we care about is whether or not the pros are buying along with coffee. Here's the price. The price is moving to a new high, but the pro index is a little bit lagging here. That needs to be cleared up. I would like to see the pros join the party rather than the public. So we're going to watch that in the coming weeks, especially if price makes a new high. We need to see this clear above this high right here. If it does so while energy remains either neutral or increases, that's a good sign in terms of favoring continuation. So in terms of coffee, the mid-cycle play, which is not a play you want to chase because we almost have two standard deviation readings in the daily. These can go up quite a bit in a volatile market. These can go to as high as 2, 3, 4, 5. I've seen them as high as 8, but I wouldn't buy any of them at 38 days. This is a pretty long rally already, so we're waiting for a reset. A reset will be coded in the face column as R. It will be highlighted yellow. So there's really not much to do other than watch. When is that reset going to come? The seasonality here for coffee since 70s describes June as a relatively weak month, and that's probably why June has slowed off here. We could see a decline and then another reset sometime in June, which then sets up a better, more constructive July and August time frame. Those are possibilities. Seasonality are guidelines. What's more important is time or price and time cycles and energy, and these change on a daily basis. So energy is updated weekly. The daily, weekly, and monthly trends are calculated and updated on a daily basis. So this is something we'd really discuss it as an ongoing conversation. So you can't just watch coffee right now and say, well, coffee's good and I'll come back and check up on it 6 months from now. If you're going to watch and understand the fractal nature of the trends, the primary trend might still be up 6 months from now, but the daily and weekly don't always stay up. They curl down into consolidated move, which we call cause building. Cause building usually provides the short-term energy builds either on a daily and weekly basis, which then powers additional impulses up within the primary trend. But this must be monitored on a daily basis. So that's what subscribers value the most, or at least when they come to learn to do this, they come in and check on the matrix at least a couple times a week, or at least for sure once a week, in order to see if the daily trends have gotten too extended or have flipped down. If they're too extended, they might even take some of their profits off the table. If you have a 5 standard deviation or 3 standard deviation, sometimes that's enough to say, I'm going to take some money off, and when this resets, I'm going to reestablish the core position. Cut back my risk now, redo it when it hits a reset. Again, if you're struggling, and I'll leave the link of the evolution of the trade, struggling with what we're talking about here, click this link or follow the link underneath this video and read up on the evolution of the trade, and a lot of this stuff will start to make a lot more sense. And it's really a discipline that keeps you out of the equation, because you or self is what brings in opinion, and that's what causes a lot of mistakes. So coffee looks pretty good. I mean, I know the few people that are following this then within the subscriber base. It'll probably growing. I know a lot of people didn't pick it up to begin with. I know a few of the names personally. I wouldn't say pat yourself on the back. I'm there with you. I'm buying coffee. We're gonna play these by the number, so it's nothing personal on the upside, and it's nothing personal during the corrections. We're not in the corrective phase yet, but this is not a we're not in chase mode. We already bought the flip. We already bought a reset, and now we have to watch the energy and the daily trend, and we have to see if we want to take some profits. If you have any questions and you're a longtime follower of coffee, or if you're looking on, contact me below or leave some messages below. Subscribe to this YouTube channel too. Sometimes I put things up. A lot of it's most subscriber content that links through the blog. I have links to the blog below. You can go back to that. You can contact me there. Direct conversations about this stuff is always interesting. I think it brings and opens the door. I learn a lot from other people, as well as I think people are going to learn a lot from this. This is not something I see a lot on the internet. Quite frankly, people don't trade properly on the internet. There's a lot of crap trading on the internet and emotional stuff, and this is not what you want to do if you want to be successful over the long term. So if you have any questions about what we talked about, anything between the flow of time, the flow of energy, the flow of price, let me know. We can have a conversation about that. We can have some either more follow-up discussions, written or video. Anything is possible, but I have to hear about it. Coffee is going to get a lot more intense as time passes, and there's going to be a lot more interest. That's going to make it a lot more difficult to follow. You're going to have to follow it through the evolution of the trade and the matrix if you want to do this right. Otherwise, emotion is going to creep in. The majority is going to step in, as I've long said, a day late and a dollar short. So they're going to come late to the party, and they're going to come to the point where we're going to be starting to leave when they start to enter in force. And that's going to be probably a lot further down the line than we see right now. But it's something that we're going to, that coffees provides an excellent teaching tool for a lot of other assets. These blank areas inside the matrix are all other assets. These are agriculture. This is the bond, energy, forex, grains, industrial metals, precious metals, and some of the key major U.S. stock indices and foreign stock indices. So these are something that I want to introduce to all. And if you're trading coffee, keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on the matrix. And if you have any questions, let me know. If not, enjoy your trading day and enjoy your summer.